Good afternoon and welcome to Tea with Jess. Uh, this afternoon's mug is again my mug from my daughter's band days. Um, she played the trombone. So I've got my Earl Grey tea with a little bit of almond milk and sugar. Yum. So I just have to tell you this story about to me, one of the most bizarre things that's ever happened to me, at least in terms of my automobile experience. So, uh, I have a new to me car. It's probably about 3 or so years old, and I keep it. It's a little Hyundai Tucson, and I keep it parked out in our driveway because in the garage it's kind of a staging area for things that I'm planting in the garden. And this summer I'm also refinishing a porch swing that my father, grandfather, and great grandfather made literally about 90 years ago. And last summer, I tried to preserve, maybe it was 2 summers ago, I tried to preserve the original milk paint that was on there. But after a while, even milk paint wears out. And so I'm scraping it off and repainting it properly. I think dad, grandpa, and great grandpa would be proud of the care I'm giving this swing. But that's why my car's out in the garage, in the driveway instead of the garage. Okay, fine. A lot of people park their cars outside. Most people park their cars outside, right? So this is not weird. This is not unusual. Well, let's see. A little over a week ago, on a Thursday, I filled the car with gas, cleaned it up because we were going to go up to a nearby city to visit our younger daughter for Father's Day, and my husband's birthday happens to fall on Father's Day weekend. Great, we're going to take my little Tucson up there. Everything's fine. Then Friday night, the Friday before Father's Day weekend, I think this plays into the story. I don't know. This is the point in a story, like if you're reading or writing a novel or a mystery novel where you're kind of trusting that the writer's going off on a tangent for a purpose and that this thread will come back in. But I'm not entirely sure. Anyway, we had a big storm front came through. Had a tornado actually touch down in our neighborhood or nearby. We're fine. Everybody's fine. But it was a big storm. Okay, fine. So, after a night of hiding in the basement with the cats for a few hours, we get up the next day, everything's fine, trees are all fine. We get in my car, pack the car with, our little overnight bag and gifts for my husband, and I start the car. And the engine light's on. And I'm like, I wonder if all that storm activity somehow jolted my car. Maybe there was a lightning strike nearby or a really big bit of thunder and the car rocked, and somehow this triggered I don't know. My dad was a shade tree mechanic and also an actual mechanic. He was a tool and die guy. So I haven't inherited much of his intuitive ability and trained ability with engines, but I thought, maybe it just jolted the car just enough that it whacked a few, a wire out of place. So I'll drive it around. I'll drive it around the block and the engine light will go out and it'll be fine. Well, I drove it around the block. The engine light did not go out. And I thought, I am not going to drive, a 4-hour round trip in the car with an engine light on, of course. So we park the car in the driveway. We move all the stuff to my husband's car. We go about, have a great weekend. Fine. So fast forward to the following Monday morning. I have just a short errand to run. And I've already made my appointment to get the engine light looked at. It's not going to be till the following Friday. So a full week after this storm and almost a week after the engine light comes on. And I think, but it's not going to hurt the car to drive like a mile with the engine light on because I didn't have very far to go. And it wasn't, miles not long, but it wasn't the kind of errand I could just walk to and back. So I start the car, I start to drive. Oh no, the engine light's still on, and the car is bucking. Like every time the gear, it's an automatic gear shift, but every time the gear shifts, the car like is like jolting forward. So I drive it around the block, put it in my driveway. I'm not driving anywhere in this thing except to take it to the car shop a little early, which is what I did. So, cutscene, fast forward, I get a call last Friday morning, and it's from the car shop, and it's Mark from the car shop, and he says, "Ma'am, so you're gonna want to call your insurance company about your car." I'm like, "Over a engine light coming on?" He's like, "Yeah, you're gonna have to call your insurance company and report critter damage." I say, "Critter damage? What are you talking about?" He said, "Yeah, turns out either a squirrel or a chipmunk, probably a squirrel, crawled up underneath your car and ate your engine harness." I don't even know what an engine harness is. What the heck is an engine harness? Turns out it's not a harness like you would think of a harness. It's all these wires and that go to different parts of your car, from your engine. I'm clearly showing I am no mechanic, right? That that are important. It's important to the car, basically. And he says, whoever, whatever ate this engine harness didn't do it in a place where we can actually repair it. So we're going to have to replace the whole thing. And that's going to be at least $4,000. So you might want to report this to your insurance company as critter damage. And I'm like, yeah, I guess I really should do that, right? And then I said, for whatever. Now I've met Mark a few times. He's the guy at the shop who takes care of our cars, or supervises the people who take care of our cars. Nice guy. So maybe it's because he's met me, but I blurted out, "I hate squirrels." And he says, "Ma'am, you can't shoot them." And I said, "Can't I?" I thought, "You don't know me, Mark. I mean, I don't actually own a functioning gun. I own an antique gun. We do, that my dad gave us, that is not loaded and is basically just, something dad decided to give to us as an antique, but I could bop him over the head with the butt of the gun, I guess." I don't know. Maybe he's read my books and he knows in The Widows that Lily impresses Marvina with her squirrel shooting ability. Or, maybe I just seem like somebody who would shoot a squirrel. I couldn't actually shoot a squirrel. Even if I could have the aim and ability to use a gun to shoot a squirrel, I don't think I could shoot a squirrel. I don't know though, $4,000, maybe. So I wrap my head around this. I call our insurance company, which is State Farm. I wish it were Farmers Insurance, because then I could say, "You're welcome to use this on one of your ads about at Farmers. We've seen it all." But no, we go to State Farm. So I call State Farm, kind of explain the situation. They put me through to the adjuster. And so far, nobody's surprised by this, which I found surprising. And the adjuster, nice lady named Ethel, I remember her name, Ethel, says to me, "Okay, yeah, we do actually get calls about, as your guy, car shop guy calls it, critter damage. We call it animal damage. But I'm going to have to ask you a few questions." Okay. She said, "Now, please keep in mind that these are on the form that I have to follow." All right. She says, "Who was at fault, you or the other party?" To which I say, "It was the squirrel. I did not eat the engine harness." "Okay, ma'am. Next question is, at what time did this incident occur?" I'm like, "I don't know. Somewhere around maybe 1 a.m., 2 a.m. I'm guessing over a period of time. Hard to say. Hard to know how many squirrels were involved, but there we go." And at this point, you can hear like the giggles start to creep into her voice. And she says, her final question is, and she mostly gets through this with her voice staying even. She says, "Did either party report this to the police?" And I said, "Well, I didn't." thinking, I don't know about the squirrel, but I did not call the police about the squirrel eating my car. Um, at which point Ethel burst out laughing and I burst out laughing. And it is kind of funny. I see the little haha signs and it is funny. It's funny. It helps to have insurance to make it in a fairly low deductible to keep it funny, although it's a pain to be without a car. They're really expensive to rent, so we're so far not doing that. Um, and it'll get funnier as time goes on, I'm sure. But I tell you, squirrels eat my bird seed, they eat my tomatoes, and now they're eating my car. So I am not a big fan of squirrels right now. Maybe I could shoot a squirrel and make it into bird goose stew. My grandmother used to make squirrel stew, bird goose stew. Okay, no, I really couldn't. So I can go fishing, but I know I can't shoot a squirrel. Anyway, that is my squirrel story. And and that was the weirdest thing that's happened to me over the past week and a half. The nice thing that's happened to me today was that my editor accepted the revisions to the echoes. So that means she'd read the first draft. We talked about revisions to make it a better book, and came up with a plan. I executed the plan. She's read the book and really likes the revisions, which is fabulous. So the next step will be the echoes will go to copy editing. So I'm excited about that. And I'm working on some new projects, of course, besides ranting to everybody who will listen about squirrels. So that's happening, and I'm excited about that. And then, of course, I have the Tea with Jess podcast version of this, that every other week I interview an author or an artist. And it's been fun to really think about why I wanted to make that in every other, like the first and third Monday part of Tea with Jess. And it's basically, I used to be just recently stopped being a literary life columnist for the Dayton Daily News. And I did that for 9 years. And I really liked the part of the job I really liked was interviewing other authors. And it occurred to me with Tea with Jess, I could expand that from authors to artists as well. And I like that because I get such inspiration and affirmation really from hearing other artists and creators' stories about their own challenges, what inspires them. And you start to see a pattern. And I really just get a lot out of that. And I like lifting up other creators as well. So I thought, why not put that out there in just this other format for other people who are creators or thinking about becoming a creator of some sort to find inspiration and ideas and tips. And also for people who love the arts to get that kind of behind the scenes. It's always kind of fun to get the behind the scenes scoop on the creation, which leads me to two things, actually. One is when I was a little baby writer starting out, I would go to all the book signings I could at this wonderful bookstore in our area called Books and Company. I remember taking my babies with me, and standing at the back of the crowd so I could run if they started crying. So I wouldn't interrupt the talk or the signing. But I learned so much from just hearing writers talk about their process and their experience, not just in publishing, but as creators. And the second thing is my husband and I go to the ballet every now and then, and they have performances where they afterwards have a talk back session. And the idea is, it's only a handful of people ever stay, but everybody who wants to stay moves down to the front of the theater, and a few of the dancers come out on stage, and then you can ask them questions about the show, their part in the show, how they prepared, the choreography. And I love observing, being a partaker of ballet and of dance, but I have no idea of how one goes about crafting that or learning how to perform. And so I've learned just a little smidgen just from listening to their insights, and it's fun and it's fascinating. So that's the reason behind taking these Tea with Jess sessions that The first and third Mondays are chats. Hopefully, I can keep this up with other creators, and then they become podcasts on Wednesday. So, if you love podcasts, please consider subscribing. Tell your podcast loving friends. All the information's on my Facebook page. Next Monday, I will be chatting with Jayatsna Srinivasanan about her new book called These Americans. It's a collection of 8 short stories and a novella. And I'll just read you a little bit from the back. It says, These Americans explores what it means to live between Indian culture and American expectations. An Indian-born immigrant mother, for example, gives birth to her daughter in a small Ohio town. A girl recently returned from India strives to become American again. A naive immigrant mother is in denial about her lawyer daughter's lesbianism. An elderly doctor keeps a shocking secret from her daughter. This engaging collection of 8 short stories and a novella will stay with you long after you turn the page. So, These Americans by Jayatsna Srinivasanan. Jayatsna, I've met through the Antioch Writers Workshop, which I used to direct. She was one of our fiction instructors. Very charming, talented writer. Can't wait to hear what she has to say about these short stories and novella. She's published other novels, but this is her first collection of short stories and a novella. So it'll be a lot of fun to catch up with her a week from today, and I hope you'll join us for that. In the meantime, as Nana would say, life is hard, sometimes so hard that squirrels eat your automobile or part of it. I don't think they had engine harnesses on Model Ts. Anyway, life is hard. Have tea. So in the meantime, between now and our chat with Jayatsna next week, be kind to one another. Take good care of yourselves. And I will look forward to seeing you next week. Bye-bye.